Turn, O virgin daughter of Israel, to these your highways by which you went. Welcome to Reunion Roadmap, a place to discover the people and communities along the highway of restoration for Israel's house of Joseph. Reunion Roadmap is a B'nai Yosef North America production. Be our guest for the next hour as we meet the people of the emerging house of Joseph here in North America.
Welcome back to the Reunion Roadmap. This is Al McCarn, Executive Director, B'nai Yosef North America, along with my friend and colleague, our Communications Director, Tefania Pappas. We are pleased that you have joined us today. We're going to go, as usual, right into our interview segment. In fact, this is the second part of an interview we started last week. Tefania, would you tell us who we're going to listen to?
Well, we're going to be listening to Luke and Harmony Patterson. For the moment, they're in Covington, Louisiana, when we did the interview. But we've talked about at the beginning, in the description last week, that they do a lot of sojourning. And you didn't really catch that in the first part, but in the second part, you're going to hear about all their different sojourns that they've had.
Sojourns meaning they live in a place for a short time.
Exactly.
Yeah, and some interesting places, as you'll hear, Canada, Norway, even Israel. They were there just 5 weeks, and this was their first trip to Israel, but so many significant things happened.
Yes.
And we have a definite theme here of the two houses of Israel, or the two sticks of Israel from Ezekiel 37, how God's bringing them together. That will be borne out as we hear the music for this show, and also the midrash from our elders, Barry Phillips and David Jones. Well, with that as an introduction, let's go on back to Southern Louisiana and to finish up our conversation with Luke and Harmony Patterson.
So when we started learning the truth about Torah, I realized that that's really what was missing in our Christianity, because without for that, and there are certain things the Christian church teaches from the Torah, such as, tithing and not to have sex before marriage, but without a foundation that the whole law is important and good for us, it leads to confusion. And so I'd say that I was a confused Christian for, I guess, 20 plus years. And then Father started opening our eyes that there was a set apart path, that there was a narrow gate that we desired to enter.
How did family respond to this change?
The first year, when we said we did Passover and not Easter, there was a little bit of, unrest with my sister primarily, but I think that was it. I don't know if they just thought it was a phase or something we would kind of grow out of. The Father impressed on our hearts really early on that we needed to just not compromise, but have good fruit. So we didn't feel that it was our job to go point out anything anybody was doing wrong, but that we would just choose to do it differently, which did create some odds, I guess you'd say, especially during the holidays. But it wasn't as dramatic as some people's stories, simply because we decided, well, first of all, we were living in another country, and so the interactions were a little bit less on a daily basis. But I think pretty early on they saw that there was fruit in it, but maybe that was our thing, but they could see fruit in us growing deeper in the children's lives. But it's not always easy.
Yeah, Zafania, when we began to make some changes in our life, the Father picked us up out of Texas, Houston at the time, and he put us in Norway. And Norway is a beautiful, wonderful country, but in terms of this kind of Hebrew perspective, you're on an island, truly on an island. And the beautiful thing was, I would say in general, because we were considered foreigners and outsiders, we were greatly respected by the local people there in Norway. So we were kind of doing our thing in a sense as a family, but trying to walk amongst this new people who in many ways embraced our kind of unique perspective that we were now beginning to share and with people, and actually looking for other people. And we found a very small remnant of people in Norway whom actually we, after spending time with some new friends in Israel, realized there was a connection back to these people. So as we've traveled from Norway to Canada and we're back in the U.S., we've been knitted with a group of people. Sometimes, it seems so mysterious how that occurs. So we've been given, in a sense, some support through new friends, new family. And all the meanwhile, we've continued to nurture our relationship with our family here in Louisiana, and I have in Colorado as well. But we kind of do that in spurts. And so I think it's actually worked out really well to be able to come back and share our experience as we've been sojourning around the world.
Speaking of the sojourning thing, I know I've lived in another country for 5 years. I lived in the Republic of South Africa. And so often what happens is that people who are in the United States all their lives develop this sort of lens to where they only are looking through this lens of America, I would say. And it sort of colors their vision and understanding of the world. And did you find that in your sojourning that the Father was really freeing you of that idea that, America is that's the only place? And
definitely. And before that, we had, I think, become a little disillusioned with the U.S. in general, and the Father's brought us back full circle, but, aware now. So I think for me, as he was uncovering different things that I had learned that were not true, even what I learned in school and, about vaccines and just different things he was opening our eyes to. And so we were like, and then we realized, no, there's an enemy. But being in Norway was really eye-opening because the country is so much older. So their Christmas is not regarded. They know the roots are pagan. So nobody's there denying it because it's been passed down so long that they know the roots are pagan. And so they're celebrating that.
Yeah, Saturday is Lord Dog in
Norsk.
And but I guess to kind of my perspective is we were actually thinking we would flee America and never come back. And so we were excited to go see the dispersion of all the other people around the world. And in many ways, we thought we would just continue to stay out of the U.S. And so for us, it was kind of easy to adopt other perspectives and other, cultures. And it's still the case, obviously, just back from Israel and just very encouraged and excited about this new land and new culture, new people, even there. But we were blessed by our time in Norway and blessed by, in many ways, I'd say there was a real positive perspective of the people there. And we continue to hope and pray that even that country and that people group can continue to, turn towards our Creator. And there's a deep sense of a love for creation in a beautiful country like Norway. So the people have there's this kind of in tuneness, for maybe lack of a better word, with the natural surrounding. And I think it's on the cusp of just breathing out the name of our Creator for these people. And in Canada as well, you'd think Canada is an extension of Norway, of the U.S. And it's not. It's a different people group. It's in many ways a different perspective. Obviously, there are similarities, but we got to know we were actually our first real kind of Shabbat fellowship occurred while we lived in Calgary. So we were really knitted with people in Calgary, and that included a dear friend from Peru. So we have have a family in Peru that we've not met, with the exception of our dear friend Susan there in Calgary. So yeah, we've really had a kind of a broadening of perspective, which I think we desired anyways. But the beauty, like Harmony said, now that we've left the U.S. and we've returned, instead of being fearful, consumed with fear and uncertainty and disillusioned by the political, entities and the big business kind of mindset of the U.S., we've come back with a new mind and a new heart to say, there's a people here that we love and we care for, and we desire to share our story. We desire people to be set free here in the U.S., to have their eyes, hopefully open to a God of Israel, a Messiah who desires to see all of us be set free. So we've been encouraged.
Tell us about your recent trip to Israel, and how did the Father impact your lives during that particular journey?
Wow, so many ways.
Yeah.
We spent 5 weeks in Israel. It was our first time there ever. We came without any expectations or agenda, but simply that we knew we wanted to celebrate Pesach in the land and just have our eyes open. So we just prayed that the scriptures would fall fresh upon us, which they did in amazing ways. The thing, though, is the most surprising to me about going was I really thought I was going for us, for our family, to learn, to glean. And the Father showed us daily that it was important for us to be there, not just for us, but also for the people of the land. And he was faithful daily in coordinating divine appointments to talk to people, be they Jewish, non-religious, Christian. It was so impactful. Of course, we have those interactions, but not on a daily basis, and not so much so that he was really opening our eyes that you're blessed to be here, but I'm going to use you as a blessing as well. And it really opened our hearts for the land to return, to make that become a regular part of our sojourning, is to go back to the land.
We had so many experiences that obviously went well beyond anything we could have imagined. And the part that we didn't understand was, who are we and who are we when we go into Israel, and how do we even begin to define ourselves, and how do we share our perspective? And I guess we decided we would just try to first see and hear and touch and taste, and if an opportunity arose, and then we would just desire for the Lord to speak through us. So that being said, there was plenty of opportunity of people who were so interested to hear why we were there. One particular example was on the streets of Jerusalem. We were walking home one evening, a little bit late in the day, and we literally bumped shoulders with a gentleman who was very kind-hearted immediately. Excuse me, hi. He could tell we weren't, we were maybe tourists. We try not to stand out, but sometimes it's obvious. And he said, well, welcome to Jerusalem. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, sir. How wonderful to hear you say that to us. And it was Shabbat. Yeah. It was the close. It was just the close of Shabbat. And we were just immediately encouraged, because we love to hear Shabbat Shalom. It's just music to our ears and our heart. And we could tell he was a Jewish gentleman. And he said he was curious. Well, who are you? Why are you here? And why would you say Shabbat Shalom? I don't hear that from every tourist on the corner of Jerusalem. So we told them, we celebrate Shabbat. We've come for Pesach. And he immediately brightened up and said, I've been waiting. We've been waiting for you. We're waiting for your return. We're so happy to have you back. And thank you for being here. And we know who you are. And we go, what do you mean? And he's obviously had a heart and a mind for a perspective of a dispersed people whom he knows biblically are expected back in the land. We know the cords of Ezekiel that many scholars have certainly read, many Jewish scholars, and so how exactly it's impressed upon him, we didn't have enough time to go into detail, but it was obvious that he's expecting a dispersed people of Israel to be in Israel.
He actually called us Ephraim, and we did not say that first. He called us Ephraim. And he said, look around, look at these streets, look at these buildings. This is prophecy unfolding. And this is what's happening, is the stick of Judah and the stick of Ephraim are coming together. And I am helping to build a bridge. He was a rabbi. And he said, it's not very popular, but I'm helping to build a bridge. And when we told Ephraim and Ramona about him, they hadn't heard of him yet. So that was really amazing to say, not only can this group of believers in Yeshua as Messiah recognize that we are Ephraim, but that this rabbi in Judah, in Jerusalem, is recognizing who Ephraim is also. And, he picked us out, and that can only be the Father's hand.
Wow, that's a great story.
Yeah. Yeah. And for our children to see that, you can't plan that.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that was one of many stories. We were there 5 weeks, and almost from the beginning, we were encouraged. I would say the trip was smooth overall. It didn't go without a few bumps in the road here and there, but overall, we were blessed with peace and provision. And I would say a connection to a larger group of people. Obviously, those like yourself, Zephaniah, who we got to meet as part of a Congress. But beyond that, a people group in the land that we just kind of spontaneously would cross, or in some cases, I guess you would say providentially, were knit to in many areas within the landscape, including those who were permanently in Israel. And also we met many people who were traveling in and through Israel as well, whom we really were able to connect with on, I would say, a heavenly level.
Do you have any final words at all that you would like to share with our listeners out there, that you think that some kind of lasting peace that they could just be impressed upon their minds and their hearts, saying, I'm going to remember that?
I'll let Luke close. I would just say anybody that has an opportunity or to put it out there, the Father will be faithful to bring you into the land. But I would say to set your heart on going there, to set your heart on keeping the Father's ways. If you're new to Torah, if there's bumps at the path, the narrow gate is not always easy, but it is the blessing. And so to be encouraged to continue no matter what comes your way, that the Father will be faithful and he will bring you through it and will show you the importance of staying on that path.
Yeah, I would just like to, first of all, thank you and Al, Zephaniah and Al, and your listeners. This is not something we've had a regular occurrence with, so thank you for just having a platform, because we very much feel impressed to share our story, and we could go on and on. But I will just say, for those maybe who find themselves at a turning point, at a crossroads, in particular, that there is an opportunity to really begin to set ourselves apart from the ways of this world. And our loving Father has set before us, as Harmony mentioned in the beginning, an instruction manual. So we have these scriptures, we have an opportunity to discover something fresh, something new. So whatever the circumstance may be, I would just encourage your listeners to continue to be in the Word of our Heavenly Father. And because there is no better story of redemption and renewal in all of this world. There is no more victory than that which has been set before us in the death and the resurrection of our Messiah, which in each of us is an opportunity to lay down ourselves and to rise in Him. So, as we make changes in life, we've had moments of fear. We've had moments of uncertainty and unrest. And I would just say, really focus on the peace of the Lord, the newness, the freshness as we take out our heart of stone and we desire to be planted a new heart of flesh. And I'll just quickly read here from Psalm 125. Those who trust in Yahweh are like Mount Zion. It is not shaken. It remains forever. As the mountains surround Yerushalayim, so Yahweh surrounds his people now and forever. And as we were standing there in Jerusalem, Harmony expected to be in Jerusalem and see Mount Zion like Mount Everest or something, or, these mountains around us. And when you're in Jerusalem, you're already on a mountain. And so you look around and, the Mount Zion and the Mount of Olives, they're relatively kind of small compared to, kind of where you're standing in the old city, for instance. But it's a new perspective that we already are on his mountain, no matter where we stand on this earth, and that he surrounds us and that he will be with us now and forever. So I hope that's just something that people can take away, whether they've been to Israel or whether we stand, wherever we may be here, in his earth, in his domain.
Well, thank you so much. And it'd be nice to have you back sometime as well, if you're interested.
Anytime.
Great. Thank you so much, Luke and Harmony.
Blessings. Thank you.
Here is Solomon Lopez singing a new version of Return from the Hebraism Music Project, available at Hebraism.org.
Shalom, 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 Yerushalayim. Shalom, 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 shalom. Yerushalayim. Oh, pray for the peace of Yerushalayim. Oh, pray for the peace of Yerushalayim. Shalom, 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 Yerushalayim. Oh, pray for the peace of Yerushalayim. Scattered and we have been torn, but now's the time to return to where we were all, where we were born, where we were born, where we were all born.
Well, welcome to the Midrash portion of Reunion Roadmap. This is David Jones, and I have with me another elder from B'nai Yosef, North America, Barry Phillips. Shalom, Barry. Are you staying dry up there today?
So far, it's going to be rainy a little later on, so we got our own system crawling up the East Coast. I think you guys already tasted that down there.
Oh, yeah, we've had some pretty bad flooding here, but nothing near like the other parts of the country are getting right now.
Unfortunately, those folks are hurting. Yeah.
Not to shift gears quickly on that, but I was looking through some things in Deuteronomy in chapter 22, and I saw something that's very interesting I'd like to share and kind of get some thoughts on and get a take on. And what occurred to me is that the Father's heart is to always work redemptively with the covenant people. You know, when he extends covenant to us, we walk in that covenant, but it's for the purpose of being seen by the nations or by the people around us. And so I read in Deuteronomy chapter 22, verses 1 and 2 is really what I'm looking at. It says, "You shall not see your brother's ox or a sheep going astray and ignore them. You shall take them back to your brother. And if he does not live near you and you do not know who he is, you shall bring it to your home, to your house, and it shall stay with you until your brother seeks it. Then you shall restore it to him." And this made me think. So if you find a lost sheep, it's your responsibility to try to care for it and try to restore it to its owner. And boy, that speaks volumes to me. What do you think about that, Barry?
You know, David, I have taught on this multiple times, and where my focus has always been in the past has been toward the end of verse 3 that says that when we find what has been lost, we cannot hide ourselves. And what I have always focused on from that was seeing people in need means that we cannot pretend that we don't see them. You know, you if you see someone in need, it is your obligation then to respond by some means and see that something is happening. So your aspect here that is finding lost sheep and returning it to its owner, that takes it up a notch. It kind of gives me the idea, finding someone who's lost, I can't pretend that they're not lost. I can't deny their lost sheep status. I have to do something.
Well, this makes me think, you know, I mean, the Torah says, do not avert your eyes when you see injustice being done. But at the same time, what is injustice? Would it be considered injustice to see a need and just walk away from it?
Yeah. Short answer. Yeah.
And then so we're to when we find lost sheep, and again, this is interesting because in the way this is, it's the way this scripture is written, it's not like this person set out to go find them, but yet he found one.
Right.
And so here he come across this lost sheep and understanding that, well, it's not my sheep. What do I care? You know, that's somebody else's job. That's somebody else's responsibility. But yet we have a personal responsibility to care for the sheep. And that makes me think of us. You know, I'm putting myself in this situation, not just in the finding the sheep, but being the sheep. At one point, you know, we have all been lost sheep. I mean, doesn't it say in the Psalms that all of us have gone astray like a lost sheep?
Yeah, it does. And, you know, a man's out in his field. He sees sheep that doesn't belong to him. They're lost. They're abandoned. They're maybe neglected. You know, we're not talking about maybe a little innocent lamb that's cute, cuddly, and so we're talking about sheep. If not cared for, they get matted, they stink, they have issues. Besides that, the care and the feeding comes out of his pocket. And it doesn't say that when he restores it to its owner, that the owner pays him back for what he's invested.
Ooh, that's a good point.
He just gives the sheep back and the owner says, thank you. And it doesn't say, well, you could butcher the sheep and just take the value of it and hold the coin and give it away. And then that may have been permitted under rabbinical interpretation. But, when it comes to human life, and we see someone that is a lost sheep, they need to be returned to their creator and a right relationship. You may have to hold your nose and invest more in them than what is comfortable. But their owner will repay. It may be kingdom level repayment in that day. We may not see any gratitude here and now, but people's lives are eventually worth the investment, are they not?
Absolutely, absolutely. Because Yahweh is God for us all. I mean, it's not that any respecter of persons, and when we understand that, we've been there too. We were lost sheep at one time as well, and so Jeremiah 50. Okay, Jeremiah 50 says that my people have been lost sheep. And so if we say, I mean, it's funny because nowadays sheep is a four-letter word, if you will. I mean, it's a derogatory term to be a sheep, but yet in the kingdom we're either sheep or goats. Which one are we going to choose to be? And it says, my people have been lost sheep. And it says the shepherds have caused them to go astray. They've turned away from the mountains, and they have gone from mountain to hill, and they've forgotten the resting place. This makes me think, okay, mountains. I think of Mount Sinai, the mountain, come to the mountain, Mount Zion, Mount Sinai, and, the places where Yahweh revealed himself on mountains. But yet hills, what were hills in the scripture? Oh, these were the high places, and the hills where pagan worship was. Where they set up altars. And so when we move away from the mountain, or what he showed us at the mountain, rather, is my point, then we open the door to hills. And are we supposed to be on the hills, or are we supposed to be at the mountain?
Yeah. Big difference there. I noticed the wording here, and again, we're dealing with English translation, so we're relying on some assumed accuracy here. But the terminology that I read in this verse is their shepherds, not necessarily Yah's shepherds, but their chosen shepherds have led them astray. So these are perhaps then shepherds that the sheep chose. They followed after them and they led them astray. Well, I mean, if you're trusting this shepherd, who else does the sheep have to trust but their shepherd?
Right.
And, we also see, I believe in Ezekiel's writings, that these shepherds have abused the sheep.
Right.
So they have fleeced them for their own profit, pun intended.
Right.
So the situation is, Yah says, I'm going to punish those shepherds, but then I will raise up my shepherds who will care for the flock.
See, now that's a great point, because Yahweh says that he will give shepherds after his own heart. We have today people are saying, well, look, all these people that are considered shepherds have caused a lot of harm, and they've caused a lot of bad things, and a lot of bad things have happened. But, something that we've seen through the scriptures, that just because somebody is misused or abused or misled or something like that does not change what Yahweh said.
All right.
And he said, I will give shepherds after my own heart. Well, what is that supposed to do? Well, that's supposed to help feed the sheep and help give them what they need to live, and to live in safety and to live in surety.
So, David, have you ever, I don't know if you've had this personal experience or not, but to take on an animal as a pet from a shelter or something where the pet has been previously abused, you have to rebuild trust. And you have to demonstrate consistently a caring attitude for the animal to eventually learn to trust you, because they have been hurt in the past. That I've had a dog or two that did not do well around children, and in researching a little bit, you find out, well, somebody had it whose children were rough with the animal. Pulled its ears, its tail, didn't understand how to appropriately treat their pet. And so when they see children come around, they get nervous and apt to bite or something. When sheep have been abused, I'm assuming that it's maybe likewise, and it's especially in the human aspect of this, where when they've had shepherds that have abused them, they have trust issues. And so you're trying to relate to them properly. You're trying to teach them the word. And they're hard not to deal with in some ways, in that they're constantly questioning, why are you saying it this way? What are you really after? What are you really trying to say here? And they're always, standoffish. They won't let their guard down enough to get real with you, etc. And it requires some patience. And I noticed as I was looking at this, you were reading the text a few minutes ago, and again, continuing into verse 3, it says, "So shall you do for his donkey." Man, you talk about the most stubborn of animals. Can be contrary. They can work hard, they can do a great job, but at any given moment, they can just revert to this, I'm not moving, I'm not pulling, I'm not working, I'm just going to sit down on you, or I'm going to go eat briars. And so you have these folks that they work well, they're seen getting involved, they're finding their niche, and the next thing you know, they sit down on you.
And you're trapped.
But you're supposed to care for them and continue to care for them until their owner comes for them. For us, for you and me, that means long term, until the kingdom comes.
Right. And this is trust is built in relationships. And boy, relationships are never easy, are they?
They're messy.
They're very messy, because in every relationship, and I don't care who it's a relationship with, whether it's business or personal or family or friends or whatever, in every relationship there are trying times of trying to work out disagreements, misunderstandings, or just differences of opinion. And in the kingdom, we cannot just walk away. We need to try to see the person being more valuable than their opinion.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you a quick question then. How does this relate to us, not just as dealing with individuals, but a sheep nation? The house of Joseph in particular, the lost sheep of the house of Israel. How do we deal with it that way?
Well, there's a lot that can be done. Jeremiah 31 really speaks a lot in regards to that. But Yeshua says as well in Matthew 10 and in Matthew 15, he tells us to go to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Uh-huh. And so we have to understand, so who are the lost sheep of the house of Israel? Well, to be lost of the house of Israel, you had to have been a part of it at some point back in history. And so I believe this relates to us as well. Those that have been scattered in the nations, those who were part of Israel but walked away and have been assimilated into all the earth, as well as in the Ezekiel, we find about the valley of dry bones and the two sticks. So all of these people and those that join with them. So we have a whole family being united together as Israel, but yet we have some that were lost sheep that have wandered away that are supposed to be brought back and restored to the family.
I'm thinking of something you sent to me about Yeshua from Yochanan or John 11, that after he had raised Lazarus, that there was concern that Yeshua would turn all men to believe on him, and Caiaphas prophesied that Yeshua would not just die individual, but for the nation. So it's for this nation to be healed, we need to give them Yeshua in a credible, able to be received manner, not using him for division or stress or strife, but genuinely and sincerely, authentically give them the authentic Yeshua Messiah. And we're about to run out of time, David.
Well, we'll have to come back to this at some point in the future. But again, these are for you who are listening, and so we want to hear from you. Please let us know your thoughts, questions, concerns, comments, everything. Send us a message at reunionroadmap@bneyosefna.com, and let us know how this is coming across for you. So until next time, We look forward to hearing from you. Shalom.
Shalom.
Greg Brown now joins us to sing Two Sticks. You can find more about Greg's music on Facebook at Gregory Brown Ministries or email him at gregory.brown7@outlook.com.
Thus saith Adonai, Eloheinu, I will bring my children back from out of the nations. I will regather them from every side and bring them back to me, back to the promised land that I gave them. I bring them high upon my mountain, back to my city on the hill. I will regather these two sticks and make them one again. No longer will there be two separate kingdoms, fulfilling the promise I gave your fathers long ago. One king will reign from the seed of David. Sound of rushing waters flowing through the canyons. The 10 lost tribes they make returning home. Now I will sanctify and cleanse B'nai Israel, so they can be with me forevermore. Bring them high upon my mountain, back to my city on the hill. I will regather these two sticks and make them one again. No longer will there be two separate kingdoms, fulfilling the promise I gave your fathers long ago. One king will reign from the seed of David. One king will reign from the seed of David. One king will reign from the seed of David.
Hello, this is Sophania Pappas, and you just got done listening to the song by Gregory Brown called Two Sticks. Included in that, previous to that, you heard the midrash about lost sheep, and you can see, as we said in our intro, about a theme of the sticks. Al, and you really see this really going on today. I mean, it seems like the Father is really beginning to call out his sheep, I would say.
Well, I would say he was calling out his sheep starting in Yeshua's day.
Yes.
As we know, Matthew 15:24, that story of when he's in what we now know as Lebanon, well, what has always been known as Lebanon, the region of Tyre, and in Phoenicia, he's talking to a Canaanite woman, as the gospel says. She's begging for help because her daughter's demon-possessed. What does he say to her? I was not sent but to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. The lost sheep of the house of Israel. You know, Sophania, for years and years, as I was growing up in the church, serving in the church, the full meaning of that never dawned on me. Not until I understood that house of Israel has a specific meaning.
Yes.
So does house of Judah. And Barry and David brought that out. So did Greg Brown with his song. And then before that, we were listening to Solomon Lopez with his song Return. And the most fascinating thing about all of this and about this awakening that you mentioned is we've got people all over the world who are now waking up to the fact that when the scriptures say that you are grafted into Israel, or you become part of Israel, or you return to Israel, the one and only covenant nation, it's serious. We're Hebrews. We're Israelites.
Yes.
Now, there is this ongoing tension, and it is that, Sophania. Any time we have something constructive, there is tension, like with a suspension bridge. If it doesn't have the tension on both banks of the river it's covering, then the bridge will fall down. But there's always this tension between these two parts of God's covenant nation. There's the Jewish part, the house of Judah, that we have always been able to identify. In fact, they are the single greatest evidence that there is a sovereign creator God, because they've never gone out of existence as a people, as the visible part of the nation of Israel. But for the longest time, they've been the only visible part of the nation of Israel. Now, here we come along and say, hey, we're Israel too. Can you see the tension in that?
Yes, and then to find out, though, that there are those among them from our older brother Judah, that they are coming to this understanding, and as we heard in the testimony of the Pattersons, are really identifying us as that returning part of the family that went out to the extremities of the world and are beginning to recognize who they are.
Yes, and in any family, you're going to have conflicts and personality issues and problems. This family too, particularly since it's a family that is ancient and very, very large.
Yes.
And, the simplest way that it has been explained, and probably the most profound way, is in that story that our Messiah Yeshua told of the prodigal returning.
Yeah.
We pay attention to the prodigal waking up in the pigsty covered with mud and realizing he has alienated himself from his father's house. But there's a lot going on in the mind and heart, the soul and the spirit of the older brother.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And we need to pay attention to that too, and not add to his anguish.
Yes.
So it's a big task in front of all of us, and the only way to walk through it is on our knees humbly before our God.
Yes, I agree.
I take comfort in that. I know you do as well, as we were talking just a little while ago about he will bring this about, the restoration of his covenant nation, all of Israel, both houses. He will do that. Why? Because he is faithful, because it's for his name's sake, just as I was reading in the Psalms today. And with that, we're going to have to end this program because we're out of time. So, folks, thank you for listening. As we record this, we are near the end of counting the Omer for this Hebrew year 5778, this Gregorian year 2018. We hope you enjoy the end of the Omer counting season as we look toward Shavuot. And we hope you come back and listen to us next time on another edition of Reunion Roadmap.
Thank you for joining us on Reunion Roadmap, a production of B'nai Yosef North America. Please come back next week for another visit with the people of the emerging house of Joseph here in North America.